Hello, it's Keith here, and this is lesson 39 of the platform-specific series of my 6502 assembly programming tutorials. And today we're going to be looking at key reading on the Commodore PET. And the reason we're going to be doing this is we're going to create a joystick simulation, a routine that will work the same as the joystick did on my other systems, so that we can run the YQuest and the Grime games on the Commodore PET with minimum translations. So we're going to be calling the function read joystick, but we're actually using the keyboard to simulate the joystick function of other systems. Now, I do have to point out for correctness that the Commodore PET can support a joystick via a sort of handmade external add-on via the parallel port, but the actual machine itself didn't come with a built-in joystick port. So because we want to aim for the most people possible, we're going to be using the numeric keypad to simulate 4 directions, and in effect we're learning how to read the keyboard, even though the example we're going to look at today actually only reads in a few of the keys and simulates a joystick. Now, the other thing I have to point out before we start the lesson is that I have released a book. I've written a book. It's called Learn Multi-Platform Assembly with Chibi Akamas, and it covers Z80, 6502, 68000, 8086 and ARM. There'll be more details on that at the end, but if you look on Amazon you'll be able to find that if you wish to purchase it as a book or as a Kindle download. Anyway, let's continue with the tutorial. So the keys on the Commodore PET, like most systems, works as a matrix. Now, the way it works is there's 2 membranes, and when the 2 membranes press together, one of the keys will fire. And you kind of need to understand that to make sense of the way things come across within the code, because it might not make much sense otherwise. But basically what we want to do is select one of, in the case of the Commodore PET, one of 10 rows, and this will contain a set of the keys. Now, on the Commodore PET, the way it works is we will select a row with the memory mapped register E810. We will write to this, and this will select one of the rows, and then we read back the data for all of the keys contained within that set from E812. And so what I've done here is I've overlaid a photograph of the Commodore PET keyboard with a screenshot from the manual, which shows the ways that the key rows map onto the actual keys. Now, I apologize the quality isn't so great because I don't own a Commodore PET to be able to take a photograph of the real keyboard, but for me it was a big help because I simply didn't know what keys were where, to know what's this key 6 here, and so this helped me enough to get this tutorial done. Now, there are 10 rows, but they don't entirely appear as sort of physical rows as in parallel to each other. And then when we select a row, we then read back, and the 8 bits that we read back from port E8112 will be the keys within that row. So when we, for example, write a 0 to E810, we will then get all of these key zeros returned in the respective bits of the read back byte here. So E8112 will return these keys in the respective bits. So you can see here, this will be bit 7, this will be bit 6, this will be bit 5, this will be bit 4, this will be bit 3, and bit 2, bit 1 and bit 0, and so on. So we can read in any key that we want, and we will always get 8 keys back when we select a row, and it's just a case of masking the key that we actually want. Now, I think this is going to work a lot better in an example, so let's go over to our code and let's see one. Okay, so we've got this assembly file joytest.asm here, which is a joystick test routine I've used in the past, and I've added a little function here to read in the whole of row number 6 here so that we can see how that works. So we're selecting row 6 by writing it to E810 here, and then we're reading back from E812, and this will read back the entire row, and we will be able to see how the keys are working on that row. Now, we're also going to use this read controls dual function, which we're going to go in just a moment, and that's actually simulating a joystick by reading in the numeric keypad as an up, down, left and right, and space and enter as 2 fire buttons. So we're going to go into that a little bit later, but first we're going to look at the actual sort of very simplistic reading of one line of the keyboard here. Okay, so here's our PET emulator here, and it's this one here you want to look at, this bottom byte here. Now, if I press one of the keys, for example, let's just press the Z key, well, now you can see bit 0 has changed from a 1 to a 0 here. And it's not quite updating on my screenshot because of the way the Zoom application works. But anyway, if we go back over to the documentation, you will see over here that on key row 6, bit 0, you can see that that is the Z key. If I just turn off that zoom there. So that's that key just here that we are reading in. Now, all of these other keys with a 6 on them are also contained within that byte that is returned. So if we just go over here, so that is basically the Z key, the C key, the B key. It's basically alternating every other key along the bottom line of the keys here. The full stop key. The next one is the enter key. That's the one we're going to be using in our simulation of a joystick here. The num key 1 and the num key 3, and I think that's all of them. So basically the point we're making there is that when we select a row, in this case we were selecting row 6, we're selecting row 6 here by loading it into the accumulator and storing that to E810, and then when we read back from E812 we're getting a whole bunch of keys, all of the ones with the number that we selected, and then in this case that was key 6, so all of these you can see with a 6 on them just here. But of course, you know, what row we would want to select would just depend on what key we were particularly interested in. And if we were interested in the whole keyboard, which we would want to be for a redefine keys function or something, then we would need to basically strobe through all of these, go from 0 to 9 as the key row select, read back all of the results into a 10-byte array. We could certainly do that if we wanted, but that's a little bit beyond what we're doing today. Okay, well, let's go back over to our source code and let's have a look at our actual code that we're going to be using to read in the controls. So we've got this simple function here called test cursor bit, and we're going to use this to test just one key from one row at a time, and we're going to use that to build up a return, and the return is going to be in our 0-page entry ZH. That's a defined 0-page entry, and bit 0 is going to be up, bit 1 is down, bit 2 is left, bit 3 is right, bit 4 is going to be fire 1, which is going to be space, and fire 2 is going to be enter, and that's all we're going to be reading in. And so we're going to read these in one key at a time. So our test cursor bit function is going to select the row that is in the accumulator, and then it's going to use the mask that's in the X register, and it's going to compare, and it's going to shift either a bit 1 for the key isn't pressed into ZH, or a 0 for the key is pressed into ZH. And that's the way that these things tend to work. When the key is pressed, the two membranes press, and that causes a short, which causes the value in the bit to go to 0. So that's the way that it's working, and that's the way we needed this to work to match our other systems. So this test cursor bit function is storing the accumulator to E810, which selects the row. We're then moving the X register to the accumulator, ANDing it, we're then clearing the carry, and if the bit that we tested resulted in a 0, we're jumping over the set carry here, and the result of that is that the bit that's moved into H is going to be the same as the bit that we were testing, the bit that was 1 in our X register here. So here we're testing this key here, which is the position of the enter key. That is in bit 5 there, and you can see on row 6 here, our enter key is on PB5 here, and that's what we're testing here. And of course that's got a number 6 on it, so we are over here having to test by loading the accumulator with a 6 here when we run our test cursor bit function. So there we're testing row 6, and we're testing that bit there. That's the enter key, which is our second fire. Then we're loading row 9, and we're testing that bit, which is the space key. And if we go over to our other screen here, the space key you can see is got a 9 on it. This is row 9. And then we're testing the bit here of row 4, and that's numpad 6. Then we're testing this bit also of row 4, so this is remmed out, it's just left there to be clear, and that is numpad 4 for left. Then we're testing the row 7 and the same bit again, this bit here, that's going to be numpad 2, which is down, and then we're testing the same bit of row 3, which is numpad 8, which we're using as an up key. And so if we just run our example here now, so this time we're looking at these 2 bytes here, but it's this byte over here that's going to be of interest to us, because this is the player 1 value. So if I press up here, then bit 0 changes to a 0 there. If I press down, that's bit 1, that's bit 2 for left, that's bit 3 for right, and then space was our first fire there, and enter is our second fire there. So those are the keys being converted into a single byte here that we can then test in our game for our up, down, left, right, and for 2 fires. And that's the thing that we need to get our games working. And so we're going to be using that in later episodes to get the YQuest game working. Okay. So there we go. So as always, you can go to the website and you can download the example code today, and that will give you a bit of an example on how to read in the keyboard. And of course, there's that keyboard matrix diagram on the website, you can see just here, if you want to read in different keys or use the keys in a different way. Now, as I always say, if you've liked what you've seen, go ahead and get the source code and use it in any way you can, make the best of it. And if you'd like and subscribe, like the video, subscribe to the channel, that would help me out, because liking the videos is how YouTube recommends them to other people. And if you subscribe, well, that's a big motivation for me. I like to see that subscriber count go up, and hopefully other people seeing my channel has a lot of subscribers, they will become convinced that it's worth watching the channel, which will help me out as well. As I said earlier, though, you can now buy my book on Amazon. I'll just tell you a little bit more about it in case you care. It's 270 pages in total. It covers 5 different assembly languages. It's designed for absolute beginners. The first chapter is an introduction to the terms and concepts you're going to come across, both in terms of assembly language, in the sense of these are terms that you will see in assembly, labels and conditional compilation, things like that you might have come across before. Also hardware terminology with regards to retro hardware. What is a VDP? What's a CRTC controller? What is a raster beam? Things like that, things that you might not have come across and you might want to know about. And after the introduction to the beginner's terminology, there is a chapter on each of the processors, an introduction to the processor, how its registers work, the addressing modes, things like that, and then all of the instructions that you will come across within the sort of core set. So for the 68,000, I cover all the basic 68,000 ones, but the 68,000 had many later generations, like the 68030 and things, that I don't cover the added commands, because it's just the core ones you're going to need to get started that I cover. So that's what the book covers. The book costs about $19. It differs depending on territory. If you want it, please see the comments below. There's a link in the comments below, so you can use that. Or if you go to your local Amazon territory, you can search for Chibi Akumas, and the book should come up, because funnily enough, I'm the only person selling a book with the word Chibi Akumas in the title, because it's my website. So there we go. Anyway, if that's of interest to you, take a look. Whatever you do, though, I hope you've enjoyed today's lesson. I hope you have some fun with the source code on the website. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.